Weak from company. Coutinho!
They called him the Little Magician, and for a while, he made the world believe in spells. But what if magic doesn't last? Before the roaring crowds of Anfield, before the silence of Camp Nou, there was a boy in Rio, small, shy, always smiling, dribbling through dusty alleyways like he was tracing a dream only he could see. Philippe Coutinho didn't grow up with much, but he had something money can't buy: vision. Not just to see the pitch, but to shape it. With every flick of the ball, with every no-look pass. He told defenders, "You're not in control. I am." Born in 1992, the youngest of three brothers. A ball at his feet before he could speak in full sentences. At age 7, Vasco da Gama saw it. Not speed, not strength, but something deeper. Imagination. He played futsal like his life depended on it. Tight spaces, quick thinking, endless movement. And in that blur of passes and feints, the boy became something more. He became art. By 16, European clubs circled like sharks. Inter Milan made the move. For €1,000,000 for a teenager who had yet to debut. A gamble, some said. A genius investment, others whispered. But dreams don't always travel well. In Italy, the weather was colder. The football, slower, stricter. His magic? It got lost between the tactics. He was benched, loaned, doubted. Suddenly, the boy who made defenders dizzy was invisible. But fate has a strange way of circling back. In 2012, he was loaned to Espanyol, Spain, sunshine, and a coach named Mauricio Pochettino. One man, one system, a second chance, and with it, the magician reappeared. Suddenly, he played with light again. Flicks, touches, goals, not for attention, but because he couldn't help it. He danced past defenders, not to humiliate them, but because he didn't know any other way. And just as he found rhythm, another door opened. January 2013. A call from Merseyside, Liverpool, £8.5 million. No frills, no headlines, but behind the curtain, something was stirring. He arrived quiet, soft-spoken, not the kind of player to shout, just the kind to steal your breath when the ball touched his foot. Anfield didn't know what to expect. They'd seen wingers, midfielders, but this was different. Coutinho didn't run. He glided. He didn't shoot. He painted goals. In his debut, he left defenders tangled in their own feet, laid off assists like it was routine, and with one curling strike into the top corner. The Little Magician was no longer a nickname. It was a prophecy. Under Brendan Rodgers, he teased brilliance. Under Klopp, he ignited it. Sulla, Firmino, Maine, they were hurricanes. But Coutinho, he was the spark. He made chaos beautiful and order irrelevant. By 2017, he was Liverpool's heart, and yet his gaze started drifting. Spain called again. Not Espanyol, Barcelona, the club of Cruyff, of Ronaldinho, of Messi. They didn't just want Coutinho, they needed him, and they were willing to break the bank to prove it. January 2018, the deal was done. €160 million. The third most expensive player in history. Philippe Coutinho, the crown jewel. But pressure doesn't wear diamonds well. He arrived injured, then played out of position, first as a winger, then as a midfielder, then as something in between. He smiled in pressers, but you could see it, the weight. He wasn't an Iniesta, wasn't Neymar. He was trying to be both. When all he'd ever been was Coutinho, he had moments, a few screamers, a couple of assists, but something was missing. The fans didn't adore him. They expected him, and when the sparkle faded, so did their patience. By the end of 2019, he was no longer part of Barcelona's plan. He was part of the problem, so they sent him away to Germany, on loan, to Bayern Munich, and there, in a team not built around him. He reminded the world, I still have spells left. August 2020, Champions League quarterfinals. Bayern Munich versus Barcelona. Coutinho starts on the bench. No big deal. Just another lone player with something to prove. Then the unthinkable. Barcelona crumble. Goal after goal. 6, 7. Coutinho comes on. And what does he do? Assist. Goal. Another goal. 2 goals against his parent club. Barcelona humiliated. 8-2. One of the most brutal nights in football history. And Coutinho, he didn't celebrate, didn't scream, didn't point fingers. He just walked away because magic doesn't glow. Weeks later, he lifts the Champions League trophy. Not in blue and garnet, but Bayern red. Poetic, cruel, legendary, but not enough to restart his fairy tale. Barcelona still didn't want him. And deep down, he didn't want to be there either. He returned to the Camp Nou, but the stadium echoed. His spark diminished. Injuries crept in. First small ones, then bigger. A torn meniscus, surgery, rehab, more rehab. The magician became the ghost. By 2021, he was a luxury Barcelona could no longer afford. Not just financially, but emotionally. They moved on. Pedri, Fati, Gavi, new names, new stories, and Coutinho faded into headlines no one read. Then came another lifeline. Steven Gerrard, Aston Villa, January 2022, reunited in Birmingham, England. Smaller stage, but maybe a new act. His debut, 1 goal, 1 assist. Suddenly, the whispers returned. He still got it, but it didn't last. As weeks passed, the flame flickered. The brilliance came in flashes, but never stayed long enough to warm a cold lead. By 2023, he was gone from the spotlight. No headlines, no trophies, just silence. But legacy beauty doesn't fade just because the applause does. So what do we make of Philippe Coutinho? A disappointment? A warning? Or something else entirely? He played over 200 games for Liverpool, scored more than 50 goals, laid on nearly as many assists. He won a Copa America, lifted the Champions League, danced in the Premier League, played with Messi, torched his former club, but none of that defines him, because Coutinho was never about numbers. He was about moments. The long ranger into the top corner, the no-look assist through a forest of legs, the smile after a nutmeg, the silence after a wonder goal. He was mood, texture, jazz on a football pitch. You don't measure a firework by how long it burns. You measure it by how brightly it explodes. And when Coutinho exploded, he lit up the sky. So if you're looking for an ending to this story, you won't find one, because somewhere right now, on a cracked street in Brazil, there's a kid with a ball at his feet, barefoot, focused, spinning, dreaming, and maybe, just maybe, he saw a clip of Coutinho once. And maybe that's all the magic he'll need, because the magician didn't vanish. He multiplied.